who's here with us every Monday. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. Mr. Holder forgot something. Watching the Patriots lose in person would be priceless.
Ah, you missed the line. I missed the line. Where was I? Should have had that one. I've been to 2 Super Bowls and I've seen the Patriots win both. So it's added insult to, you have to pay thousands of dollars and then watch the Patriots win. It's the worst. All right. All right, Ben Frederickson. We'll get to the Super Bowl in a second, but sort of overshadowing the Super Bowl is this Carlos Martinez story, which sort of dropped out of nowhere. What do you know, and how big of a deal is this?
Well, if it's true, it certainly could be a bit of a hurdle for Carlos here in the off season. It's a little odd. The timing of it is a little strange. It's coming from the allegation is made from a few years ago. There was no police report filed according to the lawsuit. And it makes you, the first question that pops up for me is, why are we just now hearing about this if it happened so long ago? Carlos's legal representation had a pretty strong denial in their comments to the paper when we contacted them and said, look, there's nothing to this, and the facts will come out, and this isn't going to be something that becomes a big deal. So that's where it stands right now. Until we have a little more information about it, then that's kind of how we have to treat it. There's an allegation, there's no police report, and basically right now he said, she said, that's going to have to go through the legal process.
The Cardinals haven't said anything, have they?
They have not. No, it's just been Carlos's legal representation at this point.
Yeah, who have categorically denied it. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there.
Right.
All right.
Yes.
On to the field and finish with the police blotter. Missouri beats Kentucky. That's a pretty big deal for the Tigers.
A very big deal. First time in the history of Missouri basketball that they've beaten Kentucky. So I think that counts as a big deal. Kentucky's not necessarily the national national champion favorite that they are in some years past, but they are a talent loaded team that was ranked in the top 25, and they came in there and really just got taken out of their element by the Tigers defense. They just kind of threw a stick in their spokes and frustrated them and forced them to try to beat them with 3-pointers. I think they made one the whole game, or at least deep into the second half. It was really an inspired effort from a Missouri team that has now put together 2 really, really good wins at Alabama and now at home against Kentucky. We thought this team was kind of dead in the water about a week ago, and now they very much look in a good spot to try to crack the tournament.
And you know what? Once you get in, you win a game or two, right? I mean, you always want to play your best at the end of the season, and so it's a very different team than when they started. So they could do some damage in the tournament.
Absolutely, and I think they could do some damage in the SEC tournament that would help their chances in the NCAA tournament. That's in St. Louis this year, and they're not going to come back to St. Louis for a long time. They're kind of trying to make Nashville the permanent home. So St. Louis did a great job of getting that tournament. What a good year for it. And then there's still a chance, I suppose, of an appearance by Michael Porter Jr. here down the stretch. I've told people not to hold their breath, and that's still my official advice. But as this team gets its legs underneath it, you wonder if he might try to contribute in some way. I keep seeing videos of him playing in the rec center, so I can't imagine that playing one-on-one in the rec center on campus is too far away from being able to practice with the team.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little Super Bowl. You know what I liked about the Super Bowl? One, first of all, they played it when everybody was up, which is shocking, right? I mean, it didn't have a 9 o'clock start time. But two, they let them play. There weren't ticky-tack fouls by the refs. And I think they got all the calls right on those touchdowns. They were close, but they let them play. And, one, Brady lost. But, I mean, they let them play, right? I mean, it wasn't all those ticky-tack fouls you see during the regular season.
Yeah, I think the defense has helped them out with that, too, by not playing any defense. It's hard to call penalties when your defense is just Swiss cheese. Both teams. I mean, this really came down to who had the ball last. And Tom Brady, they put up, 600-something yards of offense.
Right.
I think they're the first NFL team to do that and lose. But you're right. There wasn't a game-changing call late. There wasn't something that really distorted the outcome of the game, which is nice. You just felt like the right team, the team that deserved to win, won. And the Patriots, it just is nice for everybody here that the Patriots are on the losing end. It's crazy to me to wrap my brain around the fact that Nick Foles, who up to this point had done nothing except just get lucky, he comes in and puts together that kind of a performance. I look like a big idiot because I said something along the lines of, how do we really expect to watch this game and think that Nick Foles has a chance of beating Tom Brady? And that, made me look like a dummy, and that's okay. But it was a reminder that it's not just the quarterbacks going against each other. That the Eagles altogether outplayed the Patriots.
When the St. Louis Rams benched Nick Foles in favor of Case Keenum, how much money would you have bet if somebody would have said to you that Nick Foles will be the Super Bowl MVP in 2 years?
Everything I had. And then the fact that Case Keenum was right there until the end too.
Right.
You look at Case Keenum, you look at Chris Long, Danny Amendola. These guys weren't bad players. They were just terribly coached, and they had no one who knew what they were doing around them. That, to me, is what this year in the NFL has been all about. It's just proving how inadequate Jeff Fisher and his coaching staff were. Because Sean McVay won Coach of the Year, and he's a good coach.
Right.
But, he won it with guys that Jeff Fisher had. Todd Gurley, Offensive Player of the Year. Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year. You have Case Keenum doing what he did. You have Nick Foles doing what he did. You just realize that these guys had this talent in St. Louis when they were playing with the Rams. They just didn't have it under Jeff Fisher, who couldn't get his act together.
That's so shocking, because wasn't Jeff Fisher considered a good coach? What's the definition of a good coach? You don't really know, and for that matter, you don't know the definition of a good or bad quarterback because everyone thought Nick Foles was terrible.
Well, I think it shows that the system and the organization you're in matters. The guys around you matter. The game planning matters. Certainly the offensive coordinator matters. Jeff Fisher was not an offensive guy, but he never got a good, since he was with St. Louis, he never got an offensive coordinator who knew what was going on or who could get the job done. So, and clearly Nick Foles has gotten better. Jeff Fisher wasn't the one out there, throwing interceptions when he was playing with the Rams. But
right.
I do think it speaks to the overall leadership a little bit that you have these guys who were just dogs when they played for you, and now they're out performing at high levels everywhere else.
Yeah, that was a great game when it was all said and done.
Do you have a favorite commercial?
No. For some reason, the commercials I didn't care about the commercials.
With you, man.
I
just didn't think there were that many great ones.
I just didn't. I didn't catch the hype beforehand. I didn't catch the hype during. A couple of them were like the Tide commercial. I still don't quite understand.
I think that's the point.
I didn't get that, and then I know there's controversy over the Ram, the Dodge Ram one, and then they were upset that Justin Timberlake was using Prince. The $64,000 question, and maybe you can get to the bottom of this, Ben, Fred, and that is this: what was the kid doing next to Justin Timberlake during the halftime deal? Was he on his phone the whole time?
Yeah, he was taking a selfie.
Well, but
he was on Good Morning America today. He's famous now. Well, that's our world, man. The guy, instead of just enjoying his one moment to stand next to Justin Timberlake as he's giving a halftime performance, the kid pulls his phone out and takes a picture, and we applaud him for it.
Well, but it sounded like he didn't know his own passcode because it took him forever to get his phone unlocked.
Well, I'm sure he was nervous. He's got Justin Timberlake standing next to him, looking like he just walked out of a Montana Visitors Bureau, and he's trying not to drop his phone. How about that, though? So this is interesting. So Justin Timberlake is now like he goes to Montana for a month. He pulled the John Mayer, and now he's like this big country guy. But he's wearing Air Jordans during his performance, and those Air Jordans, they just released them that same night. They sold out in like 5 minutes or less. Online.
Are you insinuating that the Super Bowl is one big giant marketing ploy?
I think it might be. I think we might be onto something.
Breaking news here. This is why. This is the insight you read at STLtoday.com all the time with Ben Fred. Ben Frederickson with us every Monday and with the Sports Guys at night, and you can read everything at STLtoday.com. Ben, have a good week. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Talk